Well, I think what stood out were a couple of things from the debate we had and the engagement from the audience. I guess number one is time. Everybody in business these days are very short of time, and these messages, often what you really need is people to think, to reflect, to pause, and that's something that's very rare. So how do you get, one of the key debates we had was how do you get your message across in a world where people don't have time to properly engage? And that was what we stuck on as one of the key points. And I guess the other one is, particularly on this topic of trying to get staff engaged and to change the culture and their behaviour, how do you measure it? How do you know if it's working? With some of the technical controls that we're seeing today at the event, you can sort of see afterwards, yes, here's the graph before, here's the graph afterwards. Often with this, one of the examples we had from one of the people presenting is they rolled out their engagement with the culture of their organisation, and had seen a dramatic increase in the number of alerts they were getting. People were phoning them up and warning them about things and telling them about things. So of course from some level they did this work and things got worse. So it's obviously a challenge to kind of, how do you properly measure, is that just people are reporting more, or are actually more things happening? I think clearly in that case it was reporting more, but how do you tell? I think there's been an enormous change. I mean, the earlier session I did this morning was around communicating with the board. And it's something we've seen a fantastic lift of this topic over the last 2 to 3 years even. There's been a dramatic acceleration of that. And increasingly now, there's often a role still playing with servers in a basement somewhere, sandals and beards is the stereotype, working away. But now so much of this topic, because it is about reassurance to the board, to customers, to regulators, it's about having the right impact. And that's quite a different set of skills, understanding the technical detail. And we're seeing a sort of stretch in the profession that's almost separating into two groups. Those who are very comfortable still working with the technical details, often reporting into some kind of operations or IT role, and then this other role about it really being around risk, around influence, around the softer skills, around educating the staff and getting the culture right. And that can sit anywhere, but it seems more effective in organisations that have an understanding of risk or control and having it report into that. This is a different measure, a different set of priorities, I think. A lot of what we talked about in the awareness, one of the easy things to measure in that session was around users clicking on links. And how do you do test phishing? Do you educate them? Do you punish people who do? Do you reward people who don't? Do you track the capabilities and replicate them? How do you really solve that? I guess for me, it's a slightly different question. I think one of the key challenges I see is somehow we've built a whole infrastructure that relies on users being able to tell a very difficult problem. Because the attackers can constantly innovate and come up with more and more convincing ways. Why haven't we built a system where it's safe to click on any link? Why we were like, if we had cars that if you accidentally used them in slightly the wrong way, they exploded, we'd do something about the cars rather than say, well, no, don't do the indicators and the brakes. You've got to do, there's a weird sort of blame the victim mentality. So I guess to turn from that detail to sort of what the big question is, it's how we move from people being victims to being protected. I guess that's the trend, the big challenge, because at the moment, a lot of our approaches to technologies make people victims. We're seeing attacks against large financial institutions where there'll be an ongoing email relationship between an advisor and a target customer, and they'll wait for that conversation and then inject their own conversation in the middle of it. So it's someone you know, it's from their email account, it's referencing previous discussions you've had with them. Who wouldn't click on that? And if you're so paranoid you don't, you can't actually operate in the modern world. To get to this event today, someone sent me a PDF with a link to it. I was expecting that. I opened it. It told me where to go. I came here. Why wouldn't I open it? How can I, if there's a level of attacks that obviously are very straightforward. Nigerian prince wants to give you money. It probably isn't true, and absolutely you can educate users to do that. But at the heart of this, the level of advance of the attackers is sort of outpacing some of our defences. And I guess the big change I'd like to see is a step up in those defences and actually stop some of these things. It's not going to fix everything, but make a huge dent in that, I think would make a big difference.